Welcome back. We continue to follow the breaking news of the passing of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. The civil rights activist, politician, and minister died early this morning. His family telling us he died peacefully, surrounded by his loved ones. In a statement, they say he was a servant leader, not only to our family, but to the oppressed, the voiceless, and the overlooked around the world. Reverend Jackson is survived by his wife Jacqueline, his 6 children, and his grandchildren. And we are joined now by one of his children, Congressman Jonathan Jackson. Good morning, Congressman. Our sincerest condolences to you and your family this morning.
Thank you so much, and thank you to everyone for your many prayers, and our family prays for you as well. And I'm just grateful to God. My mother has been married 64 years, and so I've known my father my entire life in a very dangerous line of work. And so I'm grateful to God for the time he's given us together. Thank you for the meaning of his life, and thank you for the love that he shared, an example he set, and the inspiration he's given to so many.
I know in your statement you said that he died peacefully, surrounded by family. Can you share any of those moments with us, and maybe, you know, the last conversation you might have had with your dad?
Yeah, I probably had my last conversation with him probably almost 4 or 5 months ago, when he was still verbal, and it was kind of hard to hear, but he transitioned at about 1 o'clock this morning. My brother Jesse Jr. and my mother around in our home, and he was comfortable, and you know, it was a battle. He's had a very rare form of Parkinson's, and the doctors had, you know, said he didn't have much time, and they'd given him months years ago. So he's exceeded that in every measure. So God has the final decision on that. And he went away in his home and around his family and his wife of 64 years.
And Congressman Jackson, this is Audrina. My prayers with you as well and your family. I do want to ask you, so many people are going to say a lot of things about your dad as they remember him today. What do you want people to remember about your dad?
Oh boy, I mean, if you've had the opportunity to come in contact with him, he's, you know, he's dead. Some people see a political figure, and I just know them as a person that's given me, never gave up on me. I would tell people, just as a son, speaking of a father, never give up on your children. He had enormous compassion. Part of his heart was a giver to life, believed in personal salvation as well as social salvation. He took us to church, introduced us to the body, the work of Christ, not just for the personal, but for the social. How can you help others? And he did it. And when I hear these stories, Judge Greg Mathis is a dear friend, and he met my father when he was in a detention facility and got out and went on to go from prison to judgeship, and spoke with a friend, Isaiah Thomas. He said, your father fed our family, and we needed food. And spoke with Abigail Spanberger. She was now the governor from Virginia, female. She said, I was making Jesse Jackson buttons. Your father inspired me, and to the coal miners, the farmers in Iowa, the barrios, people in the ghetto, that it was a life of hope. And that was more than just a slogan. That was a lifestyle. Hope was a defensive tool, and hope was also a tool to get ahead. And he told me that tears and sweat are both salty. Tears may get you sympathy, but the sweat will get you results. And so continue to work, and never be better. Just keep striving to get better. So he's an icon. It's hard for me to describe him in those ways because he's dead foremost, and that's what I'm missing right now.
Yeah, Congressman Jackson, there are many who might say there's still so much work to be done when it comes to civil rights and rights for all. There's others who say that no one will be able to, you know, repeat the work that your father did in this modern age. In your opinion, what does need to be done moving forward? And is there somebody that you think could pick up the mantle and carry it?
Oh, there's going to be plenty of opportunities. He's run his race and he's finished his course. And there are many great, talented people. He was very excited about the young leadership that he sees on the horizon and the people that are now stirring up the body of Christ coming out into the demonstrations. Very grateful for that. And leadership isn't something that's passed on. It's a mantle that people pick up and assume. No one inherits leadership. There's no one anointed the leader. And there are great people that are being fashioned by the times. And now they're beginning to emerge. And so in this 100 years of African American History Month that was created in the city of Chicago at the University of Chicago by Dr. Karji Woodson, in this month of February, it's fitting that he goes on to the ancestors and as a part of having carried that race, he carried the baton, he carried the mantle. He was 27 years of age when his hero, his minister, Reverend Martin Luther King, was assassinated. I mean, and he kind of, I would tell you, lived each day like it was his last. That he had a very short, focus because he never saw himself living long, and God gave him a long and healthy life. And so God has been very kind and very great to our family.
I know as so many of us will look ahead and we'll talk about services and honoring him. Can you tell me what the last 24 to 48 hours have been like at the home?
Oh, just holding his hand, loving on him, talking to him, letting him hear everything, giving all of our expressions, being with my mom, and the family was around his bedside. So it was very intimate and personal, and family, friends coming by, and overwhelming amount of ministers came by, prayed for us, prayed with us, and for that we're grateful. And he was ready. He told me that he was going to make it to heaven, and felt very comfortable with his life's work and the things that he had done and his reflections upon life. So many people came by to visit, and he was grateful. He was in a good place.
What do you think your father would be most proud of in terms of his accomplishments? Did he ever talk about that with you?
No, he stayed. He thought history would be able to write that book, and history would judge his life and work. He didn't try to shape his narrative, his story. Doesn't leave behind an autobiography or anything like that. He wasn't trying to fashion a story or create a story. He wanted to live his life out, and he did it on his terms. It was dangerous work. He was at seminary school, University of Chicago, and Reverend Martin Luther King asked him to come work for him. And he says, Reverend Martin Luther King told him, I can teach you more about the seminary in 6 months than you're going to be able to learn here. And he took that challenge up, put his hand in God's hand, and started moving forward. And so that was that's part of the legacy. He trusted God, and God's been gracious, and people have been kind. And so we're so thankful for his life, and so thankful for this city. The city's been has been tremendous, and the expressions of love have been just overwhelming.
You know, I'm just thinking about back on talking to kids at Rainbow Push and the Oratorical Society, and them saying they look to your dad as a really powerful orator, someone who helped shape what they do now as they continue to speak on stages and talk about civil rights. I mean, there's so much, right, in that legacy of the kids there, even on the South Side.
Oh my gosh, yes. Words have power, words have weight. He told me one time, he said, words are so powerful. God spoke the world into existence. He reflected on Genesis. Deeply spiritual man, and wanted to make a difference. He didn't look at life as accumulating cars or properties. He looked at it as touching people, inspiring people, pouring into people, and that he did. And he did a marvelous job, a magnificent job. and I'm hurting and I miss him already. But the world is the better because of him, which is the victory.
Congressman Jonathan Jackson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know this has been a very emotional and a difficult few hours for you, but we so appreciate your insight and your willingness to talk to us about your father and his legacy.
And can I tell you, he would probably say, keep hope alive.
He probably, he would.
Keep hope alive. Okay, love.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much, Congressman. Thank you for joining us.